So welcome to my YouTube channel. That's what we call The Good Life. It's June and I'm going to be talking about some of the exciting jobs you can be doing this month on your allotment or in your home garden. Now if you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my allotment, my home garden, and from time to time my home kitchen. Now it's a beautiful sunny day up at the allotment and it's a little bit windy as well. My father-in-law was only saying to me the other day, is it windier than usual? I don't think it is actually, because we get the June drop with our apples, so I think it's probably like it always is, to be perfectly fair, perfectly normal, but it does seem a little bit windy and a little bit chillier than I would like, but at least the sun is shining. Now June is a fabulous time because we can plant out with confidence in June because we know there aren't going to be any frosts. So it is probably the busiest month of the year where you will be planting out all your tender crops that you couldn't put out earlier. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. I've got a few things that do need to go in, but unfortunately the ground that it needs to go in has taken a little bit more work preparing, so it's a job I'm too tired to get done today, but I'm going to get done another day. But at least I've made a start. I've lifted up the ground cover, I've started to dig out some of the bindweed, and within the next week I'm sure I'll get them in, and I'm sure you'll encounter that too. Sometimes the job you plan to do doesn't get done that day, but it will get done in the next few weeks as long as it's on your to-do list. Now with the weather warming up, and although we haven't had that much rain, we do seem to have quite a lot of rain, enough for the weeds, that's for sure. So one of my jobs I've been doing this week has been weeding, and I've done more weeding than I would want to do, quite frankly, but it needed to be done. I had my chard and my beetroot and my carrots were absolutely full of weeds, and I've spent a good few hours doing that. I don't do it all in one go. I come up, I do a bit. I think I did it in about 3 chunks, to be fair, but at least I've got rid of those weeds. And some other parts of the allotment I've also been doing a little bit of weeding there too. So yeah, weeds, what can I say? Nobody likes them, but it's part and parcel of growing your own veg. So the other thing to be looking out for this time of year are definitely pests. They're definitely going to be after your tender crops before you get a chance to protect them. Now one of the things I do is I do net things, whether it's brassicas, whether it's young seedlings. I do put nets on quite a few things because I know that if I don't, the birds are going to get them. I use a lot of this scaffolding netting. So the chard and the beetroot are purely covered just because I've just seeded them, but they will be coming off very, very soon. I've also got my blueberries covered, I've got some gooseberries covered, and I will be covering my blackcurrants. I use scaffolding netting. I find it incredibly effective, and it's quite cheap and reasonably durable. If you'd like to get some for yourself, I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description. I do have to tell you, I make a little bit of money out of it from the Amazon shop, but if it's something that would benefit you like it benefits me, it's there for you to buy. So the other things you need to be looking out for are the slugs and the snails. Now they're nowhere near as bad as they were last year. Last year was definitely the year of the slug and the snail, but they're still out and about. And my best recommendation is whenever you see them, just remove them. And it's up to you what you do with them, but whatever you do with them, make sure they're far, far away from your allotment, because apparently, especially snails, are a little bit like homing pigeons. But it is a good idea to keep a check of those, and if you see them, just get rid of them because they will affect your crops. I mean, you can use beer traps, and there's all sorts of things you can do to get rid of slugs. It's really your choice, but really you do need to keep the population down because they are quite hungry and they will manage to munch on your brassicas and your squashes and lots of other things. So something I've had a little bit of trouble with just lately is I've had a little bit of black fly on my broad beans. Now it's one of those things which you do get. Obviously you can nick the tops out. My top tip with them is I do hose them off. Actually, it was really quite bad on my broad beans, really bad indeed, and I've literally hosed them off a couple of times, and I'm going to keep an eye on them, and hopefully that's going to do the trick. With things like runner beans, you can hose them off, but generally they're easier to rub off the leaves and the stems. But on broad beans I find it too fiddly because they get all around their blooms and everything, so hosing them off is the easiest thing. If that's not working, now I don't like using pest control, you know, chemicals, unless I really have to, but if it gets really bad and my natural methods aren't working, then I will use something called Bug Clear, and I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description for what I use, but I only use it if I have to, and if I ever do spray, I will make sure there's no beneficial insects on it before I spray it, because you don't want to harm them. Now with it being so dry this year, so incredibly dry, I've found I'm having to water far more often than last year. So whereas, although we had lots of rain and we got lots of slugs and snails last year, I didn't have to water anywhere near as much. This year I am finding that I'm having to water every few days. Now young seedlings and seeds are going to need a little bit more water, but things that are a little bit more established don't need quite so much. Now I do water a lot of things with a watering can, but I have found it really handy and really quick to get yourself a decent hose. I tried the retractable ones a few years ago and they were really dreadful, if I'm really honest. So now I just want to have one of the more traditional hoses, and get one as long as you can. I think ours is about 100 metres long, so it's well worth getting a decent hose, because if you do end up watering a little bit more than you intend to do, like I've had to, it does save you an awful lot of time. I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you've not got a hose already. And if things are in pots, they will need watering an awful lot more than the stuff in the ground. That is the real benefit of having stuff in the ground, that you don't have to water as much as when they're in pots, which is why I favour it. So, and also potatoes. So I've actually managed to harvest some of my first earlies, which is absolutely fantastic. I can't believe how good they are. A lot of people have been confused about earthing up, and do you earth up, don't you earth up, how does that work, and lots of all that. Last year I actually did a little bit more research on it, and there's two types of potato. There's the type that really does need earthing up, and there's the ones that don't, or if you do, you just put a light mulch on them. Now the two different types are determinate and indeterminate. Now determinate potatoes grow in one single layer in the ground, and they're generally your first earlies or your second earlies. Obviously double check what ones you've got. And your main crop are indeterminate. Now what indeterminate means is they do grow in layers up the stem of the plant. Now those are the ones that need to be earthed up more, because otherwise you'll have potatoes on the surface and they'll go green. So it does also depend how deep you plant them as well, and if you plant them quite deep you won't need to earth them up quite so much. We generally try and plant ours a little bit deeper, but again it all depends how busy we are, how tired we are, how much time we've got. But as a general rule of thumb, we try and plant them a little bit deeper so you don't have to earth them up quite so much. Now with your first earlies and your second earlies, the ones you don't need to earth up quite so much, you can still earth them up a little bit and put a little bit of mulch around them if you get a chance, but they're less likely, if you've planted them deep enough, that they'll poke through the soil, whereas your main crop, they are more likely to do that. So those are the ones that you need to earth up. And when you earth up, you don't earth up right over the top of the plant. You earth up the stems, so you still see the tops of the plants. Otherwise you could damage them and you could get disease and they could end up not doing what you want them to do. So you just earth up the stems. I need to earth mine up and I haven't got around to doing it yet. There's also a question of when are they ready to dig. Now things like your first earlies and your second earlies, as soon as you start seeing blooms on them, that's a sign that they're probably ready to dig. So you just dig a test one and see what it's like, see if they're big enough. Whereas your main crop ones, they do stay in the ground longer and you can wait for them to die off before you dig them. I mean, the choice is yours with how big you want your potatoes really. So your first earlies and your second earlies, the minute you start seeing the blooms, like on these here, I can start digging these, and indeed I have started digging my arum hyla up there, and they're a perfectly good size. In fact, I could have started digging them a few weeks ago. Now I hope that's clarified one job that lots of people keep asking questions about. Another job you can be doing, if you've not already done so, is supporting some plants, and in particular things like your climbing beans, putting in some canes so your beans grow up it and they're well supported. We've literally just popped these canes in, but we do need to attach them together with some string at the top. But you do need support, otherwise some people do grow them across the ground, but they can get quite muddy. So personally I'd always grow my beans up some canes. Tomatoes, again, another thing that really needs supporting, really important. Again, you can just use a cane. If it's in your greenhouse, I actually use string that I suspend along a piece of wire at the top of my greenhouse, but if it's outside I just use either iron bars that I've got, or I've got some canes as well, because again they need to be supported, because otherwise if it gets windy like it is now, they'll break off and that would be no good at all. The other thing is starting to feed your plants. It's really important that some plants get fed. Tomatoes in particular, I just buy a normal tomato feed, nothing fancy I've got to say, and I'll buy quite often just an organic multi-purpose feed for other plants as well, so it's well worth starting to feed things. One thing I just wanted to point out, it's not a job, But quite often when you put your plants out, I see lots of pictures, people worried about how their plants look. Sometimes when you put them out, they don't look great. Unless they've completely died off, just keep watering them and looking after them. Because it's not rained so much, my squashes and my courgettes don't look anywhere near as good as they did last year, but that was purely because we had so much rain last year. So some of mine are looking a little bit better now, and they're greening up. But as you can see, some of them have got a few yellow leaves on them, and do you know what? They might not all make it, but I tell you what, I bet most of them do. So you just need to keep watering them and feeding them and looking after them, and they will come good, I promise. I've got a couple of tomatoes at home. They look absolutely dreadful, but they're producing tomatoes. So at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't matter if the leaves are a little bit discoloured. They've just suffered a little bit of distress when they're in the pots, or maybe they didn't like it when you first put them out. Do you know what? Who knows? But just keep watering and looking after them, and maybe have a few spares on backup just in case they don't do what you want them to do. Now, a lot of people keep asking me good books. This is a really good book, so Allotment Month by Month, by Alan Buckingham. I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you want to pick one of those up. I use this all the time. It's absolutely fantastic, really descriptive, some really good pictures in it. I've got to say, it is my allotment Bible, so I really do recommend this. Now, I'm also planting some seeds out at the moment, so I popped some more lettuce in. It's a really good time to successional sow things, and indeed, there's still lots of things you can be planting. Now, either buying plants or getting some seed and getting lots more things this month. If you think that you're behind, you've still got loads and loads of time. I have got a separate video on what to sow and plant in the month of June, which I will put a link up on the screen, and I will pop one in the description if you'd like to watch that too.